Hello, folks. So, yeah, things got busy again, and let me just start by saying, curse you, Team Ninja! Yes, what you are looking at is the, newest Season Pass exclusive outfit, as Team Ninja has begun Season Pass number 2 for DOA 5, which, like the previous Season Pass, costs $93. But it guarantees you 98 different costumes plus one Season Pass exclusive! You know, I really didn't want to, but look at this! Look at that! I can't not have that! And I actually did the totals, and believe it or not, that's saving me money. I did spend around $100 on DOA 5 outfits. But this brings me to the most surprising thing. Believe it or not, there is DOA 5 news. Like, serious, real DOA 5 news. First of all, on the 11th, they will be releasing not only a new stage, which is this beach fireworks Zack Island stage. I mean, I know they already had a Zack Island stage, but this one it's much more obvious. But also the new bikini costumes for this summer, which includes Lisa in a bikini top with short shorts. So, alright, my purchase is justified. After that, though, is, of all things, Nihon Falcom crossover costumes. Yeah, Falcom. The people who make Yeez, we're getting Yeez costumes in DOA. Then after that, the Halloween costumes, which disappointingly, they've already shown that my Genie costume for Lisa once again didn't win. This Halloween, she's dressing as Jenny the Bat's Beast mode. So hey, at least I know that Lisa's a Bloody Roar fan like I am. Okay, enough of that. Then after that is the, Schoolgirl Strikers outfit. And then my season pass, yeah, Schoolgirl Strikers crossover outfits, I don't even know what it is, apparently it's a TV show. Then my season pass runs out, we might have Christmas costumes, we might not. And then, next year, early next year, we get, of all things, Tatsunoko crossover costumes. Which does include the Genie characters that weren't allowed in Tatsunoko vs. Capcom because of some French company, so Lisa might still get a Genie outfit. Someone might get a Genie outfit. But, yeah, that does raise a couple questions since that's not in the Season Pass. Are they going to skip America on that one? Hopefully they won't, because I do want those, because they also confirmed Yatterman 1 and 2 will be getting costumes. I'd kind of like some Yatterman costumes as well. But yeah, 3 random crossovers, but the most surprising DOA news, in the spring, we are not only getting yet another new stage, but a new character! That's right, they're actually adding another new character as DLC, which I did not see coming. I thought they would, go ahead and start work on DOA 6 by now. But it would actually be a better idea if they don't. They just keep upgrading DOA 5. I mean, at this point, what are you going to do to make DOA 6 even matter compared to just constantly upgrading DOA 5? We're coming up on, 500 different costumes, a bunch of stages, all these characters, including the Virtua Fighter crossover characters, which, good luck getting those again. In fact, the only way I could justify a DOA 6 at this point would be if it was also Virtua Fighter 6. They're on the same number, which I think that would actually be a really good idea, because Sega doesn't really have the funds to do a new Virtua Fighter. I mean, really, think about it. Virtua Fighter has tons of respect, but it doesn't actually do all that well. Not a lot of people play it. They just, they just kind of respect it. Team Ninja, meanwhile, has shown that they can be very respectful to Sega's properties. They can handle it well. And they've got the time and money to add those characters in, not to mention that would be highly beneficial to DOA. And they've also shown that they can balance DOA characters against Virtua Fighter characters. The Virtua Fighter characters are unanimously very good, but not so good that a DOA character can't beat them, but not, so underpowered that they get crushed by DOA characters. It's a very solid balance. I could easily see that working well for both companies, because DOA's issue is that even though it's a really good fighter, no one gives it any respect, ever. Meanwhile, Virtua Fighter's issue is that while people give it respect, no one actually plays it. On top of the fact that people are kind of daunted by how purportedly complex it is, here the DOA characters could not only draw people in, being more charismatic and interesting, but also kind of act as training wheels to help newer players get into Virtua Fighter. And alternately, it would give both sides someone to compete against. Virtua Fighter fans are desperately trying to find competition. I know they're going to just call the DOA players, DOA kiddies and act all elitist about it, but they'll have someone's ass that they can kick. And meanwhile, the DOA players will feel the same. Unfortunately, it could also completely backfire. I feel that Virtua Fighter is a huge case of the Emperor's New Clothes. Because everyone just says that's the most perfect, balanced, hyper-deep fighting game ever made. If you ever question that fact, they just say, oh, you haven't gotten deep because it's infinitely deep. If you say Jackie is an overpowered asshole, everyone will say, no, you just suck at the game. You need to learn to do better because it's infinitely deep and perfectly balanced. I feel that's just... But here's the thing, everyone that says that, they don't actually play Virtua Fighter. That's just the thing they hear. So, no one is actually allowed to say if Virtua Fighter has any flaws. I think the whole thing of... I'm sure Virtua Fighter is a very good game. I respect it. But I think that the whole, it's the most perfect, hyper-deep, perfectly balanced fighting game thing is exaggeration. I think in some ways it's a little bit of a button masher, too. So, just like DOA, just like a lot of 3D fighters, let's not go crazy here. But I could easily see, since that whole illusion about its perfection is just that, illusion, I could see people saying, oh, now that it's crossed over with DOA, Virtua Fighter has turned to shit, it's been simplified and easy and stupid, it's completely broken now. Even if it was exactly the same, even if it was really well balanced, even if it's just as deep as it's ever been, I could see people just believing that, because that's what they want to believe, and believe that Virtua Fighter has now jumped the shark, and then if Sega made a Virtua Fighter 7 that tries to, continue the series without DOA, people would say, it would still play exactly the same as Virtua Fighter plus DOA, and then people would just say, oh, well, DOA ruined it. One of the things you have to learn about about video games is that sometimes logic and reason and common sense don't actually fucking apply, which is a darn shame. Of course, if they wanted to go the safe route, they could just call it Fighters Megamix, throw in a few Fighting Vipers characters, and the Daytona USA car in a string bikini. Oh, don't tell me you want the Daytona USA car in a string bikini. That's fucking happening, if they make that. Moving on, though! Onechambara Z2 Chaos is available in America, and I have to say, I am very impressed by the dub. You can switch it back to Japanese, but the dub is, really good, and the way they handled the English is they still subtitle it as English, but they have Kagura speak bad fan Japanese, and I think it works. It might annoy some people, but you can switch it back to Japanese again. It plays just as good. There's not really any censoring outside of the box art. The inner, cover is not censored, but they did censor the box art. You'll notice Kagura is wearing a bikini on top of her bikini, so she can cover her boobs while she covers her boobs. Also, this is actually a really cool thing. Number one, the boxed release is a special edition thing. It's a shiny cover, and it comes with an art book and a soundtrack. It's actually really nice packaging. The instruction book is full color, and it's got a reversible cover. It's a really nice physical release, and it's only $50, which is, actually the Japanese price of Onechambara Z2 Chaos. But get this, if you buy it digital only, it's $40. They are actually charging less for the digital version, because it comes with less goodies. Oh yeah, and the boxed release also comes with the bananas and strawberry outfit, but you can buy those separately off of PSN as well. So very good release. The only other things they changed, they took out one of Anna's ends, and they changed the stage named Arab to Dubai. But aside from that, yeah, it's a very good port. You still got your white blood if you want it. The only issue is that the game-breaking bug is still in the game of breaking it. If you're unfamiliar, I mentioned this in the middle of my playthrough. It is possible to clip an enemy through the floor during one of the sections where a gate pops up around you and you need to defeat a certain number of enemies to continue. This can happen. And a checkpoint can save your progress at that point. So when you come back to it, that enemy is still out of bounds. I have no clue why it saves the enemy out of bounds, but it saves the enemy out of bounds. And there is no stage restart option. You can select older stages, but you can't actually restart the stage you're on, meaning that you actually have to restart the whole game if this happens. The good news is that when you restart the game, it's New Game Plus. You keep all your levels. So at least there's that. At least you can look at it as grinding. But the fact that this game-breaking bug is still in there is kind of an issue. Still, I love the game. Though, I have to say, I'm starting to get Senran Kagura, because I was checking the NeoGAF board, and there were some people saying, just skip this game and wait for Senran Kagura Estival Versus. It's a much more satisfying game. And that baffled me for a minute, but someone else followed up, and they were like, yeah, One Chambara has much deeper combat, but Senran Kagura is more satisfying. I think they've hit the nail on the head. The satisfaction of One Chambara comes from taking your huge moveset and finding crazy shit that you can do with it. But you have to actively seek that out. If all you do is mash attack and dodge around, which is really all you need to do, that's not very satisfying. Senran Kagura is just mash attack and dodge around. But the attacks are so flashy and over the top and have so much impact that it feels like you're doing more than you actually are. As much as people say that they want a super deep combat system, a lot of times they just wind up mashing attack and dodging around, and that's it. So I could easily see Senran Kagura appealing more to some people. I still prefer One Chambara myself, but I do like the Senran Kagura, and that's a good way to describe it. Which reminds me, egad, Estival Versus keeps getting updates. It's on version 1.11 now. They've, and like I think I mentioned that they were going to add in 5 DLC characters. Ayane's coming soon from DOA, crossover. They already released, Daidoji and Rin. They were actually free with an update. The Shopkeeper girl just came out, and they changed her from the 2D image to her 3D in-game image, and she's a little bit more expressive and animated now that she's the actual 3D character model when you go to the shop. And then after that we have the Ikitosen characters, which there's going to be 3 of those. They were mentioning 1 new character. But on top of all that, they just announced 2 more DLC characters, which are the 2 special ones from Senran Kagura Deep Crimson, Senran Kagura 2 Deep Crimson on the 3DS, which comes out in a few days, on the 18th, I believe. So, that's cool. It's nice that they just said, yo, here's even more DLC characters. Let's keep expanding this roster. On top of that, they just added in an online co-op tower defense a horde mode. I mean, you're defending a tower, but it's not tower defense. Waves of enemies come at you, prevent them from destroying the tower. That's the co-op mode. But the point is, there's actually a co-op mode in Senran Kagura Estival Versus now. Just the fuck out of nowhere. So, that's nice. On top of the fact they keep adding more stage boobalities. Apparently, one stage, which is the middle of the city stage with the playground, they just added 3 new stage boobalities to that stage. And I was fighting someone online. Now you actually see them when you get hit by them. This person managed to kick my ass so hard, I saw 2 of the stage boobalities. Okay, they're called Puru Puru finishes, but they're stage boobalities to me. So, yeah, they are... I'm surprised how much they're expanding Estival Versus. And kind of happy. I mean, again, 1.11. But I need to double check it and see if I can, like, stream it again. Because early on, when it first came out, you could stream Senran Kagura. But there was a bug that allowed you to see the characters nude. They don't actually have any naughty bits modeled on, but you could make them show up nude. And because of that, they locked the ability to stream supposedly temporarily. But they haven't re-unlocked it. Which might be partially because so many people get banned from Twitch because of that game. Not because of playing it. You can play it on Twitch. You can't play diorama mode on Twitch. Because you can... There's a mode where you can just pose the characters and take pictures, and you can put them in... People have found ways to make some pretty sexual and suggestive poses for the characters. Probably doesn't take a whole lot of work. And yeah, people have spent hours upon hours just streaming that on Twitch, and Twitch police cracked down on that one. So, there is that. Moving on, I feel like there was some other boob-related update. I covered the Senran Kagura, I covered the Onei-chanbara, I covered the DOA. Wow, splice this on in here! I just remembered what it was! Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds Overdrive finally got its ass out. Okay, this is gonna take a little bit of explanation. You see, Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds Overdrive is the enhanced PS4 version of Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds, which I reviewed in an older episode back when that came out on 360. I gave it a very glowing review because, yes, the 360 game was great. And shortly after that, they announced a Vita port at Overdrive, and I thought they were supposed to be released at the same time, and there would be, like, cross-play between them, and then have the same enhanced features. And this was back in 2013, 2 years ago. The Vita one got delayed, and then it came out, and it was regular Battlegrounds and not Overdrive. Also, I hear that the image got squished really badly, and the Vita port's kind of crap. But it was like, oh, that's really weird. And the Vita port was actually supposed to come to America, but never did. And so I'm like, so where's the PS4 release? Where's Overdrive? That was announced before the PS4 came out. It was one of the things that was going to sell me on a PS4 was Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds Overdrive. And they announced it would have new features and new characters. There was a picture of this character named Frau from Robotics Note in the announcement back in 2013 for Overdrive. And I'm waiting, and then they announced 2 more DLC characters, which is Finn and Ende, which are like 2 of my favorite characters from Phantom Breaker. So I was really excited to play as them. Those were announced in early 2014. And now, and I'm sitting there and I'm going, where the heck is Overdrive? When's the PS4 release gonna come out? And I'm sitting there and I'm staring at it, wondering what's happening. And then they decide to port Phantom Breaker to PC. And again, it wasn't Overdrive. The Steam release was the original one. And I'm like, where are these DLC characters? Where is the new content? Where is the PS4 port? Did you cancel it? What happened? And then the fuck out of nowhere, they're like, oh, by the way, here's Overdrive. Yeah, worldwide release, enjoy, bye. What? And then I look at it. It still doesn't have the DLC characters. No Frau, no Finn, no Ende. Not that I've seen, unless they're, like, hidden deep. Like, deep in there, I do not see these characters. But it does have new content. They redid all the music to sound more Sega Genesis-ish, and unfortunately there's no option to switch it back. Some of it sounds really good, a lot of it doesn't sound as good as the original. The graphics have been slightly redone, but not in a good way. Like, I like the depth of field on the background, that's kind of nice, but the character sprites, it looks like they took the original pixelated sprites, ran them through a filter, and repixelated them. It's a minor thing. It doesn't really bother you, like, once you get used to it. But I am looking at it and going, this looks worse than the 360 game because of what you did to the sprites. Again, there's no option to turn it off. I can't just switch back to the normal sprites, which was what the game was not only originally shown with, but, like, all the advertisements all the, like, DLC and, like, the buttons and ads and everything use the original sprites without the filter repixelation weird thing. In terms of new content, there's not a whole lot here. Like, they added triple jump, they added air dash, there's supposed to be some new moves in there somewhere, some kind of new mechanics. You've got, you know that thing where you can shoot out the electro balls? Well, now you can get that in, like, different elements. There's supposed to be alternate paths I can take, though I have absolutely no clue how to trigger that. But that's why I'm seeing out Phantom Breaker Battlegrounds Overdrive. Having said that, this is the only Sony console release of the game, and these, like, changes don't, like, ruin it, but, like, in a way, I kind of think the 360 one is better. And they did say, like, apparently someone bugged them and said, hey, what the fuck happened to Frau? Frau is still coming. That'd be good to have the character you announced 2 years ago show up. How about the other two? Which, it looks like the blog post announcing them may have vanished. So that's a little weird. But while researching this, I found out another piece of inexplicably boob-related news. Galgun 2 just came out. And there's a demo available, and they announced that they're looking for a U.S. publisher. It will probably get a U.S. release. Probably from Xseed. Seriously, just go ask Xseed. They'll make it happen. However, since there's a demo, I decided to download it, and, again, disappointment. I mean, I don't know about you, but these graphics look way worse than the original Galgun to me, which is weird because it's the same characters. Why'd they even bother to remodel them? Like, and I've been trying to put my finger on it. And I know they tried to give them, like, more hair, but it just looks off. Like, they tried to add more detail, but it looks like less detail. The characters look way pointier, and not, like, intentionally pointy like I like it. It looks like they're just made of less polygons, it's less smooth. And, like, the textures and cell shading on them definitely looks less smooth. The visuals look really dark and drab and washed out. Like, I'm sorry, the PS3 game looks better, and I hate to say this, but I actually think it's the Unreal Engine. Like, if I'm not mistaken, the original game didn't run on the Unreal Engine. This one definitely does. And we know that the Unreal Engine can work some fucking magic in the right hands. We all saw Guilty Gear Xrd. However, what I'm seeing out of this is that Inta Creates does not know how to use the Unreal Engine. This doesn't look very good. It looks like they've added in some interesting new features. Like, the zoom in is now also an X-ray vision thing, and you can find people, like, hiding in trees and stuff, and of course you can look a little bit through their clothing. That's obviously a thing. You can do the ecstasy mode with multiple girls now. There appears to be this weird overworld map equipment screen, and you can check how the girls feel about you on Twitter or something. And in-game Twitter, obviously. Well, actually, not that obvious. But, like, there's definitely... Like, I ran into a Time Crisis 4 style, like, rotate-in-place sequence, which... That was kind of fun. But... I'm a little concerned, though, because in the previous game there were 4 different girls you could go after. I'm watching the intro sequence, and this one it looks like there's only 2. Like, is that right? Or, like, are you not actually going after them and they're just, like, helping you? Or what's even going on here? Like, I don't know, something feels off about this one. But the thing that feels the most off, I did hook up my PS4 camera to double check. It does not appear that there is any move support or, like, light support on the back of the controller either. And don't tell me, yo, there's no move for PS4. The PS4 supports the move. If you have a move, try syncing it to your PS4. It works. It brings up a special icon. The PS4 can use your old PS3 move. On top of that, there's a game I keep meaning to try it called Blue Estate, which is a light gun shooter that just uses the light on the front of your controller, and that's something everyone has, so there's no excuse to not have motion control this time. Like, I got it on 360, but not on PS4, and I really hope that they patch that in before a US release. I'm probably still going to pick it up, because it looks like there's a lot more little things they've added to it, and Galgun is a kind of fun thing to mess around with. And I'm going to support anything this ridiculous. But it is really weird that I'm very disappointed in it. I was, like, super excited for a minute, and then I sat down with it, and I'm like, this just ain't so hot. It's very disappointing. Which actually brings up a good question. I've realized that since this entire episode has been basically me talking about boob games, it'd be a good time to actually answer why I enjoy them so much. Which you'd think the answer is obvious, but it's not. You see, the reason is actually because these games never get good reviews. I mean, like, competent reviews. Because they go in one of two directions. In the really, really old days, games like this would be, her boobs, game of the year, LOL titties. And then, like, nowadays, and yes, there was a time when that was how people acted. And nowadays, people look at it and they're like, oh, this is disgusting sexist filth, and I'll just have none of it. And they never actually answer, is it a good game? Like, I watched some people try to review One-Chanbara, and they were too busy. The worst part is that they do both simultaneously. Like, I've seen people wag their fingers about how offensive the game is while spending most of the review doing masturbation jokes. And, I just have to sit there and say, but is the game any good? But is the game any good? No, I don't care if you're masturbating to it or not. I want to know if the game is good as a game. And that is a surprisingly difficult answer to get. And, well, I just started picking the games up and trying them myself. I mean, with One-Chanbara, it was because the series just went on for so long, it became so, like, cult legendary that I was like, you know what, fuck it. It's a $20 import game, I've got a couple bucks, I just imported a pile of Simple Series games, like, years after the fact, because everyone was raving about them, and I think it was the middle of the summer, and it was a slow time, and I was just like, I think, what was I, like, ordered One-Chanbara, Earth Defense Force, I think I ordered, Dragon Sisters, I might have imported EDF Tactics, I'm not sure, I know I have EDF Tactics, some other boob-related game, I just imported a bunch of them, and sat down with them, and I was like, oh, hey, I get why people like One-Chanbara. Oh, hey, I see why EDF is so awesome. And once you begin to realize the fun parts of One-Chanbara, you begin to realize, oh, yeah, no one really... what else was an issue was poor Rumble Roses. I mean, I started playing Rumble Roses because I wanted a fast-paced, arcade-style wrestling game with female characters, because wrestling games rarely have female characters, like the ones that actually have fictional characters, because I don't really care about real wrestlers, I love fictional wrestlers. What I want is Slam Masters with girls, but not getting that, and I try Rumble Roses, and I'm like, oh my shit, this is the most fun I've ever had with a wrestling game this side of Ultimate Muscle. This is really fun. And then, you look at the reviews, and it's just all terrible, which I kind of get, because it's basically SmackDown, but with way, way less modes, when SmackDown is usually like this overload of modes. But, like, after that, I actually went on WrestleQuest. Like, I just went out and rented every single wrestling game I could find that everyone was like, these are so much better, it's basically the same game with custom characters. And the verdict is no. Like, they come close, but the presentation and smoothness of Rumble Roses, coupled with the way they handled counters, made it a much better game. This is the thing I really hate. In most games, it's like L2 counters strike, R2 counters grapples, and I can never remember which one is which. In Rumble Roses, it's hold R1 to block, and then hit what you want to counter. You want to counter strikes, R1 plus strike. You want to counter grapples, R1 plus grapple. It made way more sense. It was a way more elegant solution. The game was faster, the characters animated better. Like, I'm sorry. Most wrestling games look like a bunch of action figures toddling awkwardly around the arena. Like, they do not animate well at all, and the good animation of Rumble Roses gave it way more of an impact. Like, things actually looked like they hurt and had some degree of weight to them. And I know some of my friends are like, I wish there was more weight to it. I wish it looked like there was more effort being put out there. But as it is, it's way better than other wrestling games, which look stiff and robotic and like a bunch of action figures bumping into one another. And, yeah, that's the kind of thing that, you begin to realize no one's going to give these games a chance, so I have to, same, oh, good lord, poor DOA. I mean, DOA 5, people are like, oh, it's more of the same, it's identical to all the other DOAs, the graphics aren't even that much better, even though it's this massive graphical overhaul, and they've fixed, like, all the flaws of the series. Yeah, no one gave it a chance. So that was why I wound up getting into fan service games. And the thing you begin to realize about fan service games is that they don't really take themselves too seriously, even when they take themselves seriously. Like, Onechan-Bar tried to take itself seriously, the early ones, that was kind of crap. Senran Kagura, it certainly has some surprisingly serious moments, but overall, it can be a very silly game. And I like the attitude of the people who make these games. They're lighthearted, they're fun, they're just, we're just goofing around and making a game that we think is fun. And I don't think that gets enough respect. Though it is a little weird that I've now spent an entire episode talking about basically nothing but boob games. That's odd. And I look at it, I'm like, why is that? The answer is because it's summer and there's nothing fucking coming out, and the only thing I'm really paying attention to right now are boob games. The PS4 is in a very, very weird spot right now. I could talk about the new Deception 4, but I haven't picked that up yet, and I keep meaning to. And even that's a little bit like that. But that's the thing, is that it's the middle of summer, nothing's coming out, the PS4 is in this really, really weird place. The adoption rate in Japan is really, really low. So not a lot of people are going to it. At the same time, though, Sony, but like they know they have to, they're supposed to. If you want more power, that's where you go. If you want to get away with sloppier development, that's where you go. At the same time, the low-budget fan service game companies, like Tamsoft and them, they've recognized that Sony has realized that this is where they belong. See, way back when the PS3 launched, the Xbox 360 was considered the pervert system. Everyone flocked to it, and they were being super lenient. As Sony realized that they were losing some degree of sales due to this. All Sony had to do was relax their policy on these kinds of games, while Microsoft wound up tightening up their policy, and Microsoft squeezed out any sort of Japanese control they once had. All those companies flocked to the PS3. And, like, the change really started with the release of the Kinect, and Microsoft's like, we want to be more of a family console, and they told Galgun to censor itself. Companies just flocked to the PS3, as so many of those games have come out now, and they've had such a good cult fan base and such good sales, and really helped bolster the PlayStation brand in Japan. But that Sony's just clung to it. They're like, yes, at least in Japan, they're like, yes, this is where these games belong. Because in the past, it was Sony's your main console, and then you just own a 360 to play pervy games. Now, Sony has, with the PlayStation, they have the one-stop shop now that they allow those kinds of games on their system and aren't being weird about it. And so all of them have moved there, and I assume that, and that's the thing, I was like, you know what, this is what the Wii U needs to do, because a lot of these aren't very system-intensive. If they allowed some of these kinds of games on the Wii U, we'd be in business. But no, Nintendo's always going to be at least a little bit controlling and not allow something as goofy as Galgun or Hyperdimension Neptunia on the Wii U. And so, this is where the PlayStation wins with me. Unfortunately, it is still a very, very Western-dominant console, and Japanese developers are still very hesitant about moving to the PS4. How's it go? Like, a lot of the games we're seeing come out are PS3, PS4 dual releases, where it's like, it's the same game, it just runs better on PS4. That's nearly everything Japan's doing. Shoot, the next Tales of Berseria, is a PS3, PS4 dual release. At the same time, Zestiria, the next one to come out, is getting a PS4 port just for America, because they realized if they released that exclusively on PS3, it would tank, and apparently it doesn't take a whole lot of effort to port it to PS4, so they're doing it. I'm getting it on PS4, I'm sure it'll run better. Yo, it's a good call. If you already had... that's almost the worst thing about the PS4, is that there aren't a lot of good games that take full advantage of the hardware. It's just, hey, this will play the new PS3 games better, is what it is quickly becoming. Although, that's right, there we go, something not Boob related. Dragon Quest Heroes 2 might actually do that. Apparently, I couldn't redeem my download code for my copy of Dragon Quest Heroes, so I have to wait for the US release. But apparently it's only single player? But I'm hearing... Like, I swear I heard something about, like, an online something in that game. But apparently the next one will actually make my dream come true. Dragon Quest Heroes 2 will have 4-player online co-op. I have always wanted 4-player co-op in a Dynasty Warriors since the release of Mystic Heroes. And I know Dragon Quest Warriors isn't quite Dynasty Warriors. But I don't get... I mean, it is! It's Dynasty Warriors just with a heap and helping of trying to be an RPG, which actually works out really well. That's what gives it its twist. I need to go back to doing the Warriors report, don't I? You know, One Piece Pirate Warriors 3 is at the end of the month. That might be a good time to hop back on. People still want my opinion of Samurai Warriors 4, don't they? Well, I'll tell you my opinion right now. I think it's more strategic. I like it more than the average Samurai Warriors. I'm still not a fan of Samurai Warriors. It's weird. It's very weird. But now I've just extended this episode to ridiculous degrees. So wherever I cut this in, I have to get back to a regularly scheduled episode. But yeah, you get the idea though. Like, the only thing that's making the PS4 interesting right now is the weird Japanese games coming out on it, many of which are pervy in nature, and I feel like giving them some respect, because, I don't know, it's just a weird thing. Oh! Dead or Alive Extreme 3 has been announced, but right now they're saying it's Japan only, like outright saying Japan and Asia only, which I'm going to blame on Maria Rose. This probably isn't going to affect me much, I'll just import it, but it is very strange that it's not coming to America, and a bunch of people are saying, oh, well, maybe the old ones didn't sell. Extreme Beach Volleyball was made for Western audiences. That began as a joke in a bunch of video game magazines. People just say, LOL, they should just make, like, Dead or Alive Extreme Beach Volleyball, and then Itagaki was just like, hey, that's a good idea, and actually made it a real game. So it kind of has a Western origin, and has tradition. I don't think it's sold poorly in the West. I mean, except for Paradise, but that's a crap port of a crap game. Extreme 2 was garbage. It was Sonic 06 bad. Trust me, I spent 60 hours on it. So, there is that. I guess I should talk about the Konami situation, though, speaking of boobs, because, yeah, the Rumble Roses guy left. Along with the Castlevania guy, and pretty much Kojima, so that's the Metal Gear guy. And, who's left at Konami, anyway? I mean, actually, this is pretty sad, but I hear Tak Fuji just had to retire because of, sickness. He might not be doing so well after his, I know he had a bad skateboard accident for a while, but I think there was some complication in the hospital, and he might have caught something pretty bad, so that's unfortunate to hear, but they certainly don't have Tak Fuji, so Konami is not extreme at all. Yeah, I don't think there's there's anyone left at Konami. I don't think anyone is actually left there. Everyone has quit. They just make pachinko machines of their properties now. They did announce a new Silent Hill pachinko machine. It's some kind of erotic Castlevania pachinko machine because they really just want to tell people to go fuck themselves. A news report came out about how badly handled working at Konami is, and basically everyone's quitting. Because, like, if you aren't coming up with good game ideas, if you're a game designer, they just send you to go work in a pachinko machine factory or make you a janitor to convince you to quit. Which is just insanely demoralizing. If you come back from your lunch break late, they announce that you were late on the intercom. They have cameras set up everywhere to watch the employees and their productivity. Like, apparently it's a pretty dystopian place over at Konami. Which, the most amazing thing, people love to bash Sega, but after this, everyone has said, wow, you make Sega look good. I mean, we don't know what the corporate culture is inside Sega, but we're pretty certain they don't treat their employees like criminals. In fact, I can almost guarantee that from... I don't know a lot about Sega. I know that they are having some issues, but I'm pretty certain their employees are at least okayly taken care of. I think they're treated at least like employees.
I'm getting bad here.
There might have... In fact, I know both Yuji Naka and Yu Suzuki left Sega, but Yu Suzuki was at least able to get Shenmue back from them, and Yuji Naka, I don't think, left on too unamicable of a note. I really think corporate culture-wise, Sega might be doing a bit better than Capcom, at least. Capcom, a lot of people have left Capcom, but from my understanding, that's just the management is fucking frustrating as shit and keeps making dumb decisions more than they're being outright mistreated.
Right over.
So that's a thing. I don't know, just Konami. Konami sounds like a hellhole right now. Fuck them. I mean, they don't even have Rumble Roses. Why do I even care about Konami now? Just, Konami, sell all your shit to M2 and Tamsoft. Sell it to Tamsoft. That's actually not a bad idea. Just give Rumble Roses to Tamsoft. I'm sure the Rumble Roses guy will join up with them. We'll make new Rumble Roses. We'll cross it over with One Chambara and maybe some Senran Kagura. It'll be great. It'd be great.
Whatever would.
To do that. BS, where's my DOA? You know what? That's another company you could sell. You could sell it to Koei Tecmo. You know, everyone's been wanting the DOA Rumble Roses crossover, even if it's just Tina. We've been waiting on Tina versus Dixie Clements for a while. Not a bad idea. You might get a pretty penny for it. Yo, because from my understanding, Koei Tecmo knows how making money works. Lord knows I give them enough of mine. $93. You asshole. I just... See, Koei Tecmo knows what they're doing. As long as it has nothing to do with the PC, they know what they're doing. Oh Lord, I'm rambling. Oh good, it's not a half hour yet, though. That's good. I think I've covered everything I want to cover, though, in terms of this update. I might have forgotten something. I know I'm behind on doing much of anything because of trips and visiting my grandmother and checking on her, as well as cleaning up the game room, because, oh my god, did that need to happen. I've made a shelf for shit I need to cover, and... like, I've got a few retrospectives planned. I actually found my entire Street Fighter EX series, but my Bloody Roar series just slipped through my fingers. I wanted to talk Bloody Roar. I don't know where my 2 went now. But I've found the entire Street Fighter EX series. I've given that a second chance, and wow, does that series deserve a second chance. I think there's actually something to say there. I need to see if I can emulate Fighting Layer. And then I think we might be in business and spend some time learning the weird mechanics of EX. And we might be in business to maybe do a Street Fighter EX retrospective. It's a theory. Anyway, I'm rambling too much, and I need to get to the most important thing that I should have put at the beginning. I know a lot of people are like, so what's coming out? What should I be interested in? The answer, I don't feel nearly enough people have talked about this, is LBX, Little Battlers Experience. Why? Because it's Dan Ball Senki. Yeah, apparently they're airing it as LBX Little Battlers Experience on, like, Nickelodeon or something. It's heavily edited. Whatever. Point is, Dan Ball Senki. If you're unfamiliar, it began as a Vita game. This is the 3DS one, specifically Baku Boost. But it began as a Vita game, and it became a big phenomenon in Japan like 5 years ago, and I've been waiting ever since then for them to release one in America. And this is like, I think this is the most recent Dan Ball Senki. Anyway, point is, it's another custom Robo Gacha Force style game about kids battling model robots, which you can customize with the various parts. I know it's also like, it should have some online versus, should have some 4-player. I think there's actually a 4-player co-op mode where you take down, like, giant monsters. I've heard something about it being, like, a little action RPG-ish on top of it being a competitive robot battle-y game. Point is, you get to build custom little robots and fight them. I'm pretty certain it has online play, too. So I expect to see you all in the arena where we're going to fight with our custom robots. I'm just saying, LBX Little Battlers Experience is a 3DS game to get hyped for. And that's coming out at the end of the month. I don't think there's nearly enough advertising. I think the US trailers are shit. Maybe if you looked on Nickelodeon, you'd see some advertising. But I think a lot more older players need to know that there is a custom robot building game on the horizon for your 3DS, and we all need to, like, sit down and play it, because it's going to be awesome. It was a big deal. I'm pretty confident it's going to be a fun game. Screw it, one more thing. I did get to see Dragon Ball Z Resurrection F in theaters. Double check, see if it's still in theaters. I'll be blunt, it's not that great. The animation is kind of shit, but the experience was worth it. Because the theater, like, even though this is, like, the middle of its run, which, thank you for letting it run for more than one day, the theater was absolutely packed, and people were screaming and cheering and laughing the whole time. It was a great movie-going experience, and it's kind of worth it just to watch some Dragon Ball with a bunch of people in a theater. It was good times. It was very good times. Oh! I rented that Godzilla game. I could throw that on there. I didn't capture any footage of it. I barely played it. It's not that great. But it's not terrible. Like, it's in a weird spot. It should have been 40. Like, I disagree that it should have been a downloadable because there's way too much content in there. But at the same time, it's way too simplistic for what it is. And it's it's an enhanced port of a PS3 game, so usually those are supposed to come with a lower price point. Arc Systems Works. You know, I kind of like that PS4 Blaze Blue, except for the fact that you're seriously charging $60 for it, which comes off as kind of bullshit for an expansion to 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 an expansion upported to PS4. You know, when DOA 5 The Last Round came out, which added a lot more content, it only cost $40 for the boxed release on PS4. How much are you charging? Yes. By the way, the boxed release of, like, Last Round is like $27 now. Just saying, you know, if anyone wants to play some DOA, it's still good. Can you tell I like DOA? Egad, like, every Metaball has a, like, the auto-generated preview image is more DOA. Whatever. Anyway, this is Gel. You've been Metaballed. I've rambled for long enough. I swear I'll start streaming soonish. See y'all later!